Good morning, everyone. My name's Katie. I'm from the SCPA, and we are hosting this amazing and very popular workshop this morning with Robert Lingard sharing about NVivo and doing a literature review. But before we start, I just want to acknowledge and pay respects to the Yugambeh people on whose land I am coming to you today from. And I'm mindful that within and without the buildings, the land always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to pass straight over to Robert so that we can really enjoy and learn from him. So thank you, Robert.
Thank you. And look, I'm happy to acknowledge too that I'm on Bundjalung land here in Lismore, a beautiful area. So I pay respects to the Aboriginal peoples here and their elders as well. It's lovely to have so many people here. Now, I have no idea what you're all studying. A couple of people I know around the countryside and a little bit of your research. But I'd love to hear initially now let's see, I've got my screen here. I'm going to share the screen because it says what I want to say. I'd love to hear what is your discipline and what is your topic? So just briefly, and in considering a literature review, what are you anticipating to be the most difficult parts of it? And then we'll see how we can work that into to easing some of your concerns and applying this really great tool called NVivo. So would someone like to go first?
Yeah, sure, I'll jump in.
Thank you.
I'm doing wellbeing for high school students, and I'm in the School of Arts and Social Science with the Centre for Children and Young People. I'm at the stage where I'm just about to go back to my literature review and rejig it now that I've done my data collection and everything. So I'm really I went on one of these courses way back and I've forgotten it all. So I'm just really here to see if there's anything that can be of use to me at this point, and it may or may not be, but that's cool.
Jane's actually quite a long way along the path of using NVivo. So I think you'll find this is all fairly straightforward for you, but hopefully there'll be a couple of tips and tricks that may be of use.
Thanks.
Nice to see you, Jane. Anybody else? I can see. Oh, thanks, Peter.
So I am doing my PhD on what mothers move through when their unborn babies are diagnosed with a particular condition. I've already gone through and I've done data collection, and I'm using NVivo as well for that. So I'm kind of also at the same bit of Jane. And I have rejigged my literature review, and I'm actually already using NVivo for my literature review, but I'm still actually going through and extracting all the information and coding and stuff. So I thought there might be any other tricks and stuff that I needed to know at this point. What will be most difficult? I think it has just been finding a way that I can organize my thoughts. And I think I found it with NVivo. Like, it feels a lot more, it feels better than my other Excel spreadsheets I used to run. So.
Oh yeah, I've been there, done that. Okay, it sounds like you also will probably have some tips for the rest of the class too, just from your own experience. But lovely to have you on board, Peter. Maya.
Yep, my name's Maya. I finished my PhD last year. Slow process getting everything kind of finalised, but nearly there. I'm coming to this for my postdoc role. I'm just working on a scoping review around nature play in early childhood, and the most difficult thing for me at the moment is getting my head around the kind of quite strict, rigid protocol of the Prisma scoping review approach. But I think doing it within NVivo will really help me, and I did use NVivo quite a bit for my PhD, but not so much the literature review.
I've got to say, I didn't use it in my literature review either. I didn't have access to NVivo at that stage, but certainly I was fiddling around with Excel spreadsheets for all my data collection, and I was doing my head in.
Yeah, it was something that I signposted as I really want to use NVivo for my literature review, but there wasn't training back then, and I was like, oh, it'll take me too long to figure it out. So yeah.
Lovely to have you on board. Diana, you're the next name I can see on my screen. So Diane.
That me. I think there were two Dianes on. But I'll go. I'm in the nursing school and I'm up for candidature in December. So I have actually already collected some data. I'm currently working on my integrative review. So yeah, I'm just eager to learn. I've had a quick kind of scan of NVivo, but having talked to Rob a bit and a couple of colleagues, this is the way to go. So I'm really keen to get stuck in and see how I'll benefit from using it.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Big Rob.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I haven't actually enrolled yet in my what I want to do, my professional doctorate, but I'm hoping to get in very shortly to study the inequitable targeting of Indigenous youth by police in regional, rural and remote parts of Australia. And I'm pretty sure I've just got to find supervisors and get in there. But and Rob knows this.
Good to have you here, Rob.
EndNote, which I didn't use in my. Sorry.
Sorry, it glitched. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, it's stalling, I think. I'm still downloading NVivo because it didn't load the other day. But yeah, so it's finished now. But that's probably the glitch. But yeah, so Rob put me onto EndNote when I was doing my bachelor's degree in law, which I did without using it, and because it wasn't set up for AGLC, which is a weird thing that we use for referencing. But he put me onto the module for that. So I've since started playing with that, and I love it, and I use it as my primary tool for keeping everything. And so I'm trying to prepare for what's next, and I had trouble doing one of my master's modules with literature review, and I thought this might help me hit the ground running instead of chasing my tail like I was in my undergrad. So I just want to be ready for it, that's all, and I hope this helps.
So turning into a technophile, that's really good news. Amanda.
Hi, I'm currently doing project management, so I'm doing my master's. It's through coursework, but my long-term goal is to do a PhD. So my unit assessor said I really have to put a lot of effort into my report at the end of the unit, I guess. So this is more of a helping me understand research and how to manage what I'm finding. So.
Okay. Good to hear from you. I noticed there are a few others. Is there anybody else who would like to tell us what's your discipline, what are you studying, and what are you anticipating to be the difficult part of your literature review?
My name is Vajira, and hi Robert, hi everyone. Actually, I'm doing Doctor of Business Administration, DBA. In my area is that regional tourism. Basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to research how ride-sharing service, which is like a Uber type of a services, influence to sustainability of regional tourism destinations. And that's the thing I'm doing. I'm now getting ready for my confirmation seminar, and still I didn't collect any data, but I saw that this program, and I never used NVivo before, and I just installed that, but still it has some error saying you don't have accounts or something like that, and to connect it, and I'm not sure which that one. That's okay, but I can participate and I can get some idea how it's work, and after maybe if I have any problems, I will contact you.
Okay. It may also be something for IT to consider, but we can talk about that.
So we can get the license from a university, isn't it? So
yes. Yep.
You just need to, Vajira, you just need to email Service Desk. I think, Maya, you had to do that this morning and they were quite quick in getting it back to you.
I just called them, Vajira. I'll put the phone number in the chat and they can help. They helped me out with it in 5 minutes if you wanted to do that. I'll just put the number in there. Bless me.
Okay, anybody else like to introduce?
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Greg. I'm
Hi, Greg.
working in cultural studies at the School of Arts and Social Sciences. About to do my PhD confirmation by the end of the year, and just getting started on. I'm really putting my literature review together. And my topic is ethics of care and ecological restoration. And
Oh, wow. Yep.
I think that most difficult part is going to be editing it all down, because I've got a lot of.
Yep. Hopefully this will be a helpful tool for you then in that process. Look, it's great to have so many people here. And what I'm hearing is that there's a vast range of topics and research being undertaken. So we've got business, we've got nursing, we've got education, cultural studies. So there's a whole range of things. And also I'm picking up that there's quite a range of experience with NVivo. Some newly downloading the software, and others have been using it extensively for their projects already. So those who are very familiar with it, you may have tips and tricks you want to throw in it from time to time. So please feel free to do that. I always put up a disclaimer. Here we go. I'll just share my disclaimer. I'm not an expert. I'm a guy who uses this stuff, and I found NVivo. My supervisor, when I was doing my PhD, said, look, an NVivo seminar is happening, come along to it. So I went along to it, thought, wow, this is a really great tool, but I don't know what to do with it. How does it work for my project? So I went away, thought about it, started playing with it. I think it ruined one January for me. But I came out the other end thinking, wow, this stuff is really useful. So I've been using it since 2010, used it in my PhD and other projects since then. And hopefully this is something that you'll find is useful for yourselves as well. So what I want to do this morning is show you a little bit of what it might be like to have your systematic literature review. Now, I say this within the context of you and your supervisors know the specifics of what you were doing. So it's almost like the medical advice, you know, any comments here will be of a general nature only. So I will concentrate more on the specifics of how to apply the tool, but the questions that you are asking and the concepts that you will be playing with are things for you and your supervisors to discuss together yourselves. But I'll show you a little bit of what it can look like. And then I will show you a literature review I'm working on at the moment. And then we'll start playing with it ourselves on each person on his or her own computer at home. So, okay, I'm going to stop sharing, go to the next page. Here we go again. Okay, computer's slowed up. Oh, that's interesting. It's not. Okay, something happened there. Sorry about that. This is an extract from my literature review. So what I did was looking at the question of what were attitudes expressed to human reproductive cloning in Australia within a particular time period, so up to 2006. So I set my search criteria, consulted the librarians, did all of that, went through academic sources, but for my research, it was also important to go through the grey literature as well as the academic. So as you can see on that table, I've got 4 major databases there: ProQuest, EBSCO, SAGE, and JSTOR. And then there were other searches. There was a website I found that there was some degree of literature review that was stored there based in America, so I used their website. And then there were other government reports that were relevant to my literature review as well. But I went through and found what was of interest and of value, and screened and filtered and kept a record of those things as I went through. So going down the ProQuest EBSCO column, just because of the way that the databases allowed you to download their material, it was easier to do it in those 3 different sections. So I had the combined pool of over 5,000. I'm a little bit anal in my searches. Keep it wide and then just spend the time filtering. Talk to your supervisors and certainly don't be scared if you see big numbers. Those I then screened by title. Those whose titles look like they're on track, I then went through and read the abstracts. And then where the abstracts were still saying this could be useful, I went through, made sure I downloaded the documents and read through them as well. And as a result of that, I got only one piece of literature from the academic sources. But then there were some other sources that got added in. But there was this systematic filtering and screening to find what's relevant. And then the second process kicked in, which was the analysis. So there are 2 parts, filtering and screening, and then the analysis. Okay, just going to stop the share. Okay, dun, dun, dun. So, when you are going through and preparing your literature review, you're sourcing your materials and then you're screening it to find out exactly which ones you're focusing on, and then the analysis. Now, the sourcing is something talk to your supervisors and to the librarians about. That's their area of expertise. But what you need to do then is export your references to an XML file out of EndNote. Now, my suggestion is that you take your EndNote file and find those articles only that are of interest by abstract. So you've got a much smaller volume of data to work with. Copy them into a separate library and use that to import into NVivo. So source them, find them, sort them down to abstract, and then bring them into NVivo. We'll go into a bit more detail on that soon. Then it's a matter of screening them and noting that there will be internal and external files automatically created for you in NVivo. The internal files will be ones that are stored in the project along with any PDFs that you had in your EndNote file. So if you've got a journal article and you've got a PDF of that journal article included in your EndNote reference, that will be brought in. All the bibliographic detail will be there and saved for you. If, say, you've got a book that's referenced in your EndNote folder, then when that is imported into NVivo, that will be called an external file. So there'll be no PDF attached to that, and you'll have to deal with that a little bit differently in your analysis. A couple of tips that I find useful is create a go find code. I'll explain what codes, memos, and sets are. But one where you note when you find something that's interest, it's not directly relevant to your to your literature review, but it's something that you want to go and search out later, then you set up a code. I've used it to say, okay, I've read this reference and at the bottom there is a citation that I want to follow up. So I've coded that so I can go check it later. A memo so that I can keep notes and records and follow up on them later. And then a thing called a set where I drop my references into just as an extra layer of sorting and screening. And then we'll have to analyze differently depending on the sort of reference we've got and the sort of material that has been imported into our project. Now, again, get whiplash from all the sharing and non-sharing. Okay. I'm going to show you my EndNote folder. Now, I'm sure this is going to be really, really interesting to you. I'm presently reviewing literature about the impact of Spanish flu on Australia. We've got this thing called a pandemic happening in the background. So I thought it would be very interesting to see what can we learn from from the latest, biggest pandemic that we had back in 1918 to 1920. So I've done my literature review. I've got all the docs there in one folder, and then I have gone and sorted. So created another group, copied everything in there, and as I read through the titles, I think this one's not useful, so I'll delete it. So I ended up with basically 1/10 of what I started with, so only 58 titles. I then went through and started reading them, reading the abstracts. And so I copied my title group, renamed it abstract, and then just eliminated everything that no longer looked relevant. I also created another group, because not everything is going to be relevant to my literature review, but it might be relevant to my overall research aims. So I'm just keeping some other things aside that I can go and look at later, but they're not directly relevant to the literature review that I'm intending to write. And then there's some other things I found. So by abstract, these are the articles that I found. I then copied my my library and just reduced it down to the 45 items that I've got here that I'm interested in according to what their abstracts say. So they're the ones that I am wanting to concentrate on and bring into my NVivo project. So what's my NVivo project look like? Let me bring that one up.
Sorry, just a quick question while you're bringing that up. So do you have multiple EndNote libraries, and say, for example, you'd have one with everything you downloaded from all your database searches, and then you'd have one EndNote that just has those 45?
Yeah, look, I had, the way that this one was being worked, there was a database, one EndNote library was created from the databases ProcWest and JSTOR, I think it was. And then another one, because Google, searching Google databases, the Google searches, I find it more difficult to manage. So I used a different EndNote library for that.
Okay.
So then I exported the relevant references into a third EndNote library, and that's the one that I've imported here.
Okay.
So this is what my EndNote my NVivo project looks like. A bit boring on the surface, but what I have done here is data, and up here we've got our tools. I have gone to say I want to import files using EndNote. So it's gone through and it's found my literature review, and I've said yes, open this XML folder. So you need the .xml file to import. So I have done that, and it's created my internal files, which I've moved into another folder called with PDF, and my externals. Now, the internals have PDFs attached and the externals don't. So for some of them, that's simply because I couldn't get access to them, and I've got librarians hunting them out. And when they come, I will import them into the folder, and then I will link them with the reference. But others are books. There is going to be no PDF, but they're still important that I include them. So they're imported, and I can go through and start seeing, so what's useful and what's not. Now I'll just close these so you can see the bigger thing here. Go to PDFs. I have started going through and reading these and coding them. So I've started highlighting in NVivo the sections that are of relevance and interest to me. And while it's keeping numbers here, it's also useful for me to go here and say, right, I'm going to color code this so that I can tell that I've been through this and I've completed it. There is nothing worse than being in the middle of a job, getting called away, coming back and thinking, oh, did I complete that section or not? So just as an extra bit, I'll go through and I'll color code the reference that I'm working on as well.
And are you just starting with coding the abstracts, Robert, of all of
No, these are the full documents. I'm not coding abstracts. I am coding the content of the paper.
Yeah.
I've determined that these are the ones I want to look at. Now, this one here, this is a really interesting article. I've gone through, I've looked at it, but it's not relevant to me. So I am going to put it here in a set. I'm going to create a new set. Not relevant, useful, interesting, but not relevant, just to be clear. So when I go back to this one, I am going to include it here in my set. It's not going to cross over for me. Add to set, not relevant. So if I go down here, I can see these are the ones that were useful. I'll keep that for my for the rest of my research, but it's not something that I'm going to be investigating further as part of my literature review. This one, on the other hand, I've had a look at it. Yeah, definitely good. It's green. That means I finished giving it the initial read at least. I'm going to add it to my set. It's on topic. So gradually this one on topic will have all of the documents that I want for my literature review. So this will be the final resting place or the final container in which I put all the relevant documents that will be analyzed for my literature review. So that's how I'm screening the documents so I know exactly what I've got. Now, there are a couple of issues. When we're looking at our documents that we've brought in, they come in various different formats and categories. Some of them will be really easy to go through and analyze, and others not so easy. Now, what I mean by analysis, okay, we'll just open up this one. This is a PDF, big council file, big thesis. There's lots of stuff in here. I'm not going to be able to easily find what I want. So I go through and I search and I look for keywords. I find where Spanish flu has been used and isolate that. I'm not going to jump there at the moment, but what I will then do is highlight the text that is relevant, and then I'm going to code it. So I'm going to say, I want this noted as, I'm going to call it a new node. And for me, this will be, was it Great War? So we'll pretend that's a relevant code to me. So now I can go through, I've got this thing called Great War. Oh, look, we'll pretend this is also relevant to the Great War. I've got this code. It's recently coded, so I'll just do that automatically and it's there. So I go through and find the parts that are relevant or where the concepts that are of interest are being mentioned and highlight them. Now, I'm guessing most of us are doing qualitative research, or at least this part of your research project will be qualitative in so much as we're pretty well just dealing with text. So this isn't necessarily about calculations, but isolating parts of text. And it doesn't matter whether you're looking at a page that's written in English or German, or even if it's in some other foreign script. Sometimes there are some languages that, some scripts that NVivo can work with, but regardless of what it's written in, it will still just be seen as text. So if you can read it, then you can code it and it will be saved. So I've said, okay, Great War, that was of interest. So I go to my codes, open them up. Oh, here we go. Under nodes, I now have this thing called Great War, which has been coded in one of my files, and it's there 2 times. And if I open up this as a code, then I find these are the bits of the text that I've got. So what that means is, I'll go to this one, Spanish flu mentioned. I've got 5 of them mentioned already. And they're found in 5 different folders here. And they are used at various numbers of frequencies within each of those folders, within each of my PDFs. So I can see where they are. I can see the bits of text. So I can tell, okay, so this one is in this particular document. And I can go through and read it. Oh, look at that. Here is, Australian efforts exclude or contain influenza. Gee, that's of interest. So now I can code on text that has been coded. So I've sorted through from my PDF to a section of my PDF. And now I can highlight the specific concepts that will be of interest. So I can say, oh, I want to establish this as a code. So this is all about, create a new node. This is about efforts. And so now you'll see over here, when I look to nodes, it says efforts, and there is the record that it's in one file and it's been used one time.
Robert, can I interrupt for just a moment?
Yeah. Oh, Katie. Yes, Katie.
There have been a few questions in the chat about the sets.
Okay, I haven't seen that. Sorry.
Do you mind just touching on those? Sorry if I've ruined your train of thought, but just
Okay.
a few questions about why you didn't just delete it. And then Peter's asked, if using the sets to house the final documents, can you look at the file classifications in one view of the docs per set? So I don't know.
Okay, let's do one question at a time.
Okay, sure.
And sorry, I'll have to ask you to monitor that, because when I've got my screen open, I'm not seeing the chat comments.
No, I am. I'm checking it out.
Okay, thank you. Okay, why did I use sets? Because I want to keep track of things easily. For me, I've just found that it's easy to separate things into sets. If I go back to just looking at my internal files, I've got everything there, and I just close all the content there in those windows. It's hard to tell exactly what I've got. Now, all of these files are coded, but some of them are coded because there's something interesting in there, but not necessarily on target for my literature review. So I want somewhere where I can see very easily where the literature is that I'm going to work with. Plus, I have external files here, say the books or the things without PDFs. So they're in a separate place already within this data section. But if I move them into a set, then here in the set that I've created, I can see at a single glance where all of the references are that I want to work with specifically for my literature review. And why I didn't go and delete the other ones is because some of them have still got interesting stuff that I might want to come back to later as in another part of my PhD research. So I'm not throwing them away. I'm just setting them aside and making a note that they're here and they're useful. Does that answer that part of the question?
So can I ask a question as well if that one's finished?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, does this work like in that where you can do different research topics? Like I noticed this is just for one sort of project. Can you do different projects?
Yeah, you can, but my recommendation is don't. My recommendation is that you create a different NVivo project for each part, for each research project. Otherwise it gets too big and too unwieldy. Katie, there was a second question you're asking.
Peter, would you like to ask that verbally now?
Yeah, sure. So I use the file classifications section to go through. As I'm coding a document, I will then open that file classifications, and I've added some more traits or classifications, whatever they're called in there, to list things like, yeah, all in there. And I added new ones to add different information that I would use to extract and to put into a table in my literature review, like the type of study, like a case study or case report and things like that. So I store that all there. If I was going to use sets, because I think that's really helpful, because some things I've just deleted from there and that's still an EndNote and I can go back to it, but I like the idea of using sets. But can you then look at the whole file classification sheet in one go just for the papers that you have in a set?
Yes, for that, okay. I probably need to explain some of that question to some of the others here first. Peter is talking about the different parts of the bibliographic information that has been imported into NVivo from EndNote. Now, I've pulled up here the file classification, which is the data that Peter is talking about. So from EndNote, information has been brought in on each reference regarding its reference type. Is it a book? Is it a journal article? Is it a thesis? Is it a video? All those sorts of things. Who are the authors? What year was it published? So all of those things from EndNote. Now, I've also gone and created some extra things. For me, it was of value to know, so which country has been specified in the study that I'm looking at? Is it a global study? Is it Australian focused? Is it New Zealand? If it's Australian, is it New South Wales or Victorian? What sort of cohort? Was it the whole population, or was it just nurses, or was it Indigenous persons? So you can create additional categories by which you classify and therefore can sort the references. So Peter has done that for some of the things that are relevant to her study as well. So you just add them in. Now, can you then, if they're in sets, can you also sort them that way? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, so I find it really helpful just to open my classifications, the actual, all the information, and look at it and go, oh, wow, look, I can already then sort it by like the case reports or all those different things.
Oh, yeah, it's
so
good.
I find that really helpful. So can you do that in one big view if it's just in a set? So can you see the file classification sheet just for a particular set? Does that make sense?
No, but you can go and sort them. You can go and, in your exploring, you can say that you want to look within a particular set for classifications. But you won't see, so I've opened my set here. It tells me what the file is and where it's saved and that sort of data, but it doesn't give me the classification, just a view here on this page. So you would need to go and look at it differently if you're wanting to explore it by classification within that set.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know, because I was ready to jump up and add some sets, but I find that really helpful, the classifications for my purpose. So
yep.
Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you.
Look, the thing with NVivo is there are 2 and 3 different ways to do things. So you always work through to find what's best for you. What I would also suggest is when you are setting this up, that you also create a memo, something like README. So you just say, I want to make a new memo, right click, new memo. So these are things of importance or things to look at later, or the notes that you want to reference and come back to. So here I've created a new memo. I was impressed by how frequently the theme of nursing comes up. So I will come back to that later and think, oh, wow, I need to follow up on that a little bit further. So that's being stored for me to come back and look at another time. So you keep those all of that information together in the one project. NVivo's strength is its qualitative data management software. So that can be a useful thing. As well as I suggest in your codes, you create one for quotes. It's just a little tip. there's a quotation that I found in one of the papers. The paper is not relevant to my literature review now that I've read the paper, but gee, there's some interesting stuff there that I want to keep a record of. I don't want to lose. So I will sort that one into the set not relevant, but I'm keeping note of this code that, of this quote that I will come back to. Okay. I've gone and spoken and talked for a long time. What I'd like to do is, if there are any other questions, quickly answer that and then get you to see if you can import an XML file into NVivo and start to do a little bit of sorting.
Robert, can I just ask quickly, if you have already got data in your NVivo and you want to just organize your literature in this way,
yep.
When you're coding your literature, are you coding it to the codes that you've already got for your data, or are you just doing it separately for your literature?
Okay, that's a depends sort of situation. You can use the same coding structure that you already have, or you create a new coding structure specifically for your literature review, or you simply do it in a different NVivo project.
Right.
So you will need to decide what will work for you to give you the most, to give you greatest clarity of oversight of your data.
I mean,
now, I talk of the literature review as data as much as I talk as our research findings as data.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be helpful for me to have it in the same project, but I'm just curious about how to actually set it up in terms of the codes and how, if I mean, initially it feels like I want to keep them separate so that I can know what's what, but
you will also find that because NVivo counts how many times a particular code is used and in how many files, that it will become a little bit confusing in so much as, you know, does this number relate to the things in my literature review, or does it relate to the data that I've collected from my interviews?
Right.
So you might want to create a separate folder under your nodes for literature review coding.
Yeah.
So you just need to think through what is going to give me the clearest run at understanding my literature review and understanding my my researched data, the things that you've collected outside your literature review.
Yeah.
Personally, I recommend separate projects. I think that's the easiest way, and it stops your NVivo project becoming too big and unwieldy.
Oh, okay.
So two separate ones, I think you'll find will run more quickly and easily.
What about do you just have one end for, like, say for example, I'm working on this scoping review, but I'm also engaging with a lot of different documents about data analysis, and I'm wondering, and I kind of want to code those so that I can wrap my head around post-human data analysis. Would you have two separate end libraries even?
EndNote libraries, yes, possibly. Look, the librarians are the best ones to talk about EndNote and, you know, all the ins and outs of that. But for clarity, yeah, look, it depends how big and unwieldy it is.
Yeah.
If you can manage it all in one, go for it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. What I would like you to do, hold on, I pressed wrong buttons. What I would like you to do is to go to your EndNote folder, and I'd like you to export. Now, I'm hoping you haven't got, you know, several hundred references there just at the moment, but go and export as an XML file. And make sure you note where it's being saved to, because you have to find it again. Save as XML. Okay, I hear some clicking. Yep. Now, it's my NVivo project. What I would like you to do now is open your NVivo project.
Oh, I don't know about anyone else. I'm still lost at the first hurdle.
Okay. At EndNote,
Me too.
go File, Export.
Yep.
Give it a name, save as type. Don't save it as a .text, save it as XML.
Oh, okay.
And then note where it's going to be saved to and save.
I've just popped those instructions in the chat for you, Robert, I hope.
Okay. Next, go to NVivo. Now, I've got, hopefully you're seeing my NVivo project. I've clicked on data and opened it. And import. Now, along the top here, you'll see lots of import options. At the at SCU, we've got the license for EndNote, so that's the one we're using, but you can see there are other options. Use the EndNote option and find your XML document and import it. So for me, I'll click on that one, I'll hit open, and then it will be imported. This is the scary step. This is where it works or doesn't work. After that, everything is easy, except it takes hours. Okay, you're getting little green slider bars saying we're importing. Everyone's gone quiet, making me nervous.
My screen looks completely different to yours. It's I can't find import and see EndNote anywhere, but I'm looking at a sample project. Is that going to stop me importing into it?
Okay, I'm not sure of that, Rob. It may do. You may not have full functionality on the free one. It should be there.
When I exported my EndNote library, I must have been clicked on just one of the things. So when I imported it into NVivo, there was only one document, so I'll have to export it again, I think.
Yep.
Where do we import it to in terms of the files or?
Yeah, it will import, it will sort out which things have attachments and we'll call them internals. They'll just be under file.
Yeah.
And it will find which ones don't have attachments, things like where you've got a book reference or there was no PDF, and it will save them as externals.
When I, sorry, when I import mine, the second step says, do I want to import by author and year or title? And then it says assign a distinct classification or different classifications. Does it matter which one I select?
Okay, can you read that again, please? We haven't got the best line.
So I've imported, sorry for the background noise. I've imported it and it asks me whether I want to name my files by author and year or title. And then it asks if I want to assign files to a single classification or different classifications.
Okay, generally the default value will be to assign them as references. It'll find that. Now I find it most useful to have them named by title, but again, it's personal preference.
Are we selecting just that one that you're talking about there under bibliography? And if so, why is it just bibliography?
Okay, I'm not understanding your question, Rob.
We have the import bar across the top.
Yep. Yep, in EndNote.
if there's bibliography underneath it. So I've found it in what I'm looking at. It's got a drop down I didn't see because it's so small. But why is it under bibliography? Is it how it
Because they're the bibliographic management software applications that this is compatible with. Okay, now you've got if you have a look at the top of your screen on the right, there'll be a little square with an arrow pointing up. If you press on that and select Show Tabs and Commands, it will probably open up and give you all the tools. Okay, can everybody have a look? If you click under Data and look at Files, do you have your references? Anybody concerned?
I've got some in externals.
Good. Yep, that's what I'd expect.
And I can't find any the rest. And the rest are in file classifications reference.
Yep.
Is that internal? Okay, because you were saying something about internals and I was confused. But so mine are all in either file classifications or externals.
Okay, good. So you've got them there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the ones with the PDFs are in the reference file classifications? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, and the ones that don't
Externals
have are in the externals. Yeah.
But they didn't show up under Files.
Let me have a look. Oh yes, they're there as well.
Good. That's where they should be. That's where you're going to work from.
Robert, Corinne says in the chat, when I save EndNote and go to NVivo, there is no saved EndNote.
Okay, Corinne, did you save as a .xml?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's such an interesting environment, this online one, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, Corinne, we might have to come back and have a look at yours a little bit later. I'm not quite sure what's happened there.
All right.
If you're okay with that? I'm sorry, it makes it a little difficult.
No, that's all good.
Okay, so most people at least, those who haven't, we can talk to a little bit at the end. But now that you've got this, can I suggest go to Memos and right click. Sorry. Yeah, open folder location. So you've got Memos and then create a new memo. So either right click in the screen like I'm doing, or you can use the create toolbar and create memos this way. Create a memo, or simply right click a new memo. So I recommend that you create a memo just where you store notes and your thinking. So their thoughts there. So when you're talking to your supervisor and they says, oh, so what are your reflections? Here are some things that I've been thinking about. I would also suggest that you go to nodes and again, right click and create a new node, or use the toolbar, use create and click node here at the top of the screen, and create one for quotes. So that when you find something that's particularly useful, whether it's in an article you're going to keep or not, you can just note it and it'll be stored there for you. And as I've suggested down in sets, create a new set and have a not relevant and a relevant or on topic so that you can sort things into there as you go along. So that gets your data, your documents or your references into NVivo and gives you some options for sorting. But the main strength of this is that we can now go and identify, so I've just got to save every 15 minutes, keep that as a default setting. It is so good to have that automatic save happening. You can then go and create the coding structure. So I've got some already set up for me. I've realized from my initial reading that there are some definitional things that I need in place. So I've created a code that I've called disease, one that's ways, one mortality, one descriptions. And I've gone and put a number first. They will be sorted alphabetically, but I don't want them sorted alphabetically. I want them sorted in this order. So I have renamed them. I've gone to node properties and I've renamed it so that it will have a number at the front, and that will affect the order in which they're positioned. So now it's number 5. So you can create some nodes, some structure based on what you already anticipate. And then go to your documents, pull one up, find the parts of information that are relevant. So find one, just do a pretend, highlight some text, right click, and code. So I'm going to call this code, let's test. So I'll delete it later. When I go back to nodes, I will find that I now have this new node here. Oh, but that would be really good if that came in under, say, definition. So I can move things around and structure it as I go. So I can take my nodes that are created. Now use the icon, click on the icon, and I can drag and drop them. Go to an external file now. These ones don't have the, the PDF, but you can still code it. So it may be that you have been making notes on your reference, in which case you can copy them, you can type them here, or you can simply note that references nursing dilemmas. So I make a note on that, and it also speaks to indigenous concerns. So they're the things that I found through reading this book, but I want to code it. So I can now code on the memo, even though I don't have the full text in front of me. So I will highlight the memo, and I'm going to code that. This is a whole new node for me called nursing. And now this particular external file, though it's not attached to a PDF, is still coded, and I can still sort it and find it. So it's a matter of going through and finding text and highlighting it, and then creating a code, and then here under nodes, creating a structure with folders and creating hierarchies of your coding, and that way you can keep a record.
So, Robert, is there a reason why for your nodes, say for example, dates, you wouldn't just have a node that said dates and then have everything under that node rather than having separate folders for everything?
Look, it's just the way I want to order it. So for me, there are some things that are going to come out as 1918, and some dates are going to be relating to 1919. So for me, that's something I want to reserve and preserve. So you have to think through what is going to be the useful structure for me, and then just move things around. When it comes to the end, you will find it helpful to go down to outputs and reports and create a coding summary. So here is a coding summary that I can export export report results. And here it will show all the bits of text that I've highlighted and coded. If you need to see it in some sort of printout, if that's going to be useful to you. You don't necessarily need it, but you can get that printout for yourself.
Robert, can I just jump in here? Diane's asked, have you used ebooks at all in the chat?
Ebooks can also be imported. Export, okay. You can, depending on what it is, it may be something you can download as a PDF and include, or it may simply function as an external file, the same as any other book. Alternatively, you can have this open, your NVivo project open, and at the same time have your ebook open. And in your ebook, you think, gee, this paragraph's really useful. So if you've got the right access to your ebook, you can copy the text and paste it into the memo of your external file, and then you can code that as well. When I come to writing, I've already got it structured. I've already got the pieces of information structured. So here for me, for definitions, I've got the information that I want to write about the waves of Spanish flu and what we've learned about the mortality. So I can click open on a node, and here are the bits of text that are relevant that I can now process and integrate and synthesize into my paragraph introduction in my literature review without having to have pages and pages of different journal articles in front of me. Here is the focus collection of text relevant to talking about this particular part for my literature review. So I want to talk about mortality. Well, we've got some information here on the epidemic in North America, in England and Wales. And then we've got some more about the variously estimated mortality being 30 million. I've got all that information. I can easily now construct my paragraph for my lit review that talks about that, and then move on to the next part, which will be the disease definition. So the information is there and brought together after all the process of screening which documents I'm looking at, and then analyzing and more or less highlighting the relevant pieces of text within each document. That's sort of the... Yep.
So can I ask, is there a different way, because you know how I'm doing with the file classifications and keeping all that sort of stuff like participant numbers and whether it's a case report and stuff in there, is there a different way that you're keeping track of all of that stuff as well?
No, that's not relevant to me at, in this literature review. It's not always... Sometimes those things are useful for your literature review, and sometimes they're not for those who are thinking they haven't thought about that. Okay, so for you, you want to be able to say, this is the sort of data you're drawing upon. So you would go through and explore and say, I want to pull up all those documents that have a classification related to a data type with an attribute called case study. And then it will pull that up for you.
Yeah, that's okay. That's kind of how I'm doing it. I just thought maybe you had a different way that you're doing it, but I think maybe our literature reviews and what are needed are different. Yeah.
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 Everybody's will be slightly different
yeah.
focus.
I just thought if you had a way that you're doing that, then maybe I was doing it wrong. So, but I think we just have different. Yeah, that's cool.
Yes.
Thanks.
Hey Rob, is there a way? Say you highlight there like since 1932, and you want to use that in your literature review with that quote and the reference. Is there a way to just grab that out of there with the reference, or do you have to?
Cut and paste. Yeah. With the reference, no, not really. You will still need to use EndNote. See, I can copy the text and I can paste it into a Word document. But then you'll still need EndNote to set up your citation and your referencing as per APA or the that law one that you guys use.
How do you get it from there to know, like, because you're obviously dealing with hundreds of documents, and like that PDF, that just takes you back to the document then, does it? And
okay, see this bit of text that I've highlighted at the moment? Okay, so I want to include that as a quotation in my lit review. So I will copy that piece of text. So I don't have to retype the thing. And then up here in the blue, this blue link here tells me which document it's from. It's from the History of Influenza. So I can go, there's the whole document there. It's by Potter. So I will go to my Word document where I'm doing my typing. I'll just open one up now. Okay, this is my lit review, blah. And then quote, I will paste this in. That's straight copied out of my EndNote thing, out of my NVivo project.
We can't see it, Robert.
Oh, sorry. It's not jumping screens with me. So I've just created a Word document. I'm writing my lit review. I've copied and pasted this. Now there were funny bits of text that didn't come over so well with PDF handling, so I'll have to edit that. And then I'll go here and I'll use EndNote and enter my citation there, and it'll create a bibliography for me at the end of my text. But I know where that text is. It's in NVivo. It tells me which document it comes from, so I can just copy, paste, and then use EndNote to make sure the citations are following properly for me.
Yeah, no worries, thank you.
There's a lot more detail that we could go over, but hopefully that will get you started. What you need to do, I'll just bring up that screen again. Source your documents and then import them. Note that there will be internals with attachments and externals. And then I've just got a couple of suggestions there for your management. Any initial codes that you're aware of that you've already got going through your head, because you know your stuff pretty well already, you can create nodes already for that, and then go through the text, highlighting and coding. There will be some things that are easy, like your journal articles. They may have some dense information, so that's easy. Just go through and code. For something that's a book chapter that's got a couple of paragraphs that are relevant and a whole lot of content that's not, then it may be useful just to highlight initially the mention of your topic. And then once you've got that, then you can go through and read just that chunk and code it in detail. Where there is non-editable text, either because it's a book or PDF didn't come over or it's an old scan, then you can use memos, type something in and code the memo, or you can just retype the whole lot of text if you're really keen. Or if it's like an old scan, you can just highlight a bit of the page and just code on that as well. There's a lot more detail that can be done, but hopefully that will get you started. I'll hand back over to Katie. See what needs to happen next.
Thanks so much, Robert. It's been a lot of information, and thank you everyone for staying with us. I know that people might have a few more questions, but there's a few things that I'd like to just share first before maybe if you've got a few minutes to answer one or two more questions, Robert.
If I can.
First and foremost, I have a feedback form that I would really love all of you to fill out. It really helps us to tailor our program and to show the university that we're really meeting your needs. Or you can tell us what you do need. So I'm going to pop that link in the chat. I will also try and email it to you all, but it should only take 2 minutes. Please go and fill out that form. It really helps us at the SCPA. The other thing I would like to mention to everyone is that I've set up a form on our website where Robert does offer some closer consultations for people who are using NVivo in their research. I know that Jane has attended in the past and found it really helpful. For us to be able to do that, we need to get you in groups of sort of 3 or 4 or 5 to make it really work for us and work for you. So I'm going to pop that link in there as well. So if that's something you're interested in, fill out the form and I'll be able to timetable a time for you to get some really one-on-one. Yes, Robert?
Can I say on that, what we've done today has been fairly general. And as questions from people like Peter have shown, sometimes there are distinctives that you need for your particular project. So while I've hopefully provided a basic introduction, I realize it's quite general and you know, a lot of big concepts, a lot of stuff we just haven't touched on. But doing it in the groups, specifically on your project in a small group, we can focus on what exactly is needed for the distinctives of your particular research.
So I know that we've gone over time. I'm just popping these links in the chat. Is there anyone who has a really burning question that they'd like to ask now? I'll just pass over for just a moment.
Can I ask a basic question? Just around, say, for example, I've imported my EndNote library and there's one that I didn't have a PDF for and it's gone to external. And then I found the PDF for that and I want to change it to be an internal with that PDF attached. Is there a simple way of doing that, Robert?
Yes, you'll be able to link the PDF to that. So it can happen.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no more questions.
Greg was wanting to ask.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I've got a related question. I've done a lot of annotating of PDFs and notes in EndNote, and I'm sure I can figure out how the annotations come across, but my question is about syncing and whether the NVivo PDFs are the same PDFs as those used by the EndNote program, and whether if I make a change in EndNote, whether it then is replicated in NVivo.
It won't update. But what you have done, so you've used the notes function in EndNote, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, well, no, actually it's on a PDF within EndNote. So I do my annotating of the PDF and then I'll highlight something and then I'll put a note with it. And sometimes that is a note that I would like to be a code. That's something for me to figure out as well, but yeah.
Okay, I've not worked with annotated PDFs, but I know any notes that you include in EndNote will be brought across as a memo linked to your reference. So keywords, abstracts, and notes are all imported into NVivo and linked to your reference. The annotation, I'll have to check that one out. I can't answer you on that one, I'm sorry.
Peter's mentioned in the chat here that her highlighting in EndNote has been pulled over into the NVivo PDF as well.
Oh, good. Okay. Yes.
Thanks, Robert.
All right. So no more questions. Thank you so much, Robert. We really appreciate you taking your time.
I'm sure your heads are spinning, but if there are questions, pass them on to Katie and I'll do my best.
And I have recorded this session, which I'll stop right now. And I'll be uploading that onto our Blackboard site.